Okay, so let's go over another example of the truth table test, just to give you the idea. I'll do a slightly more complex one. I'll do an argument where, for all I know, I'm not even sure if it's true or valid or invalid myself, and we'll see how we can learn whether it's valid or invalid using the test. So I'm not going to give it in English, I'll just give the letters. Here's our argument. Tilde A, wedge B. Second premise is B, horseshoe, tilde A. Conclusion, tilde A dot B. Okay, so I don't know whether this is true or false, or valid or invalid, and probably you don't either, unless you're very quick. But we're going to find out. That's the whole idea. The truth table test is going to tell us how to do this. So here we are. We start just like last time. We set up a table. It's going to be a bit longer this time. This time we have the two letters A and B. We give them their values: true, false, false, true, true, false, true, false, true. And then we map our premises. So the first premise is tilde A, wedge B. Second premise is B, horseshoe, tilde A. Third conclusion, final sentence is tilde A dot B. So tilde A and B. Now, in this case, we're going to have to pay very close attention to where our main connectives are of our sentences, because in different cases, the negation is going to do different things in these sentences. So, looking at the first one. Here we have a wedge and a negation. Here I would ask you as a class, what's the main connective? But since I'm the only one in the room, I will have to answer the question myself. It's the negation is the main connective, because you see it's outside the parentheses. So the negation applies to whatever complete sentence is to its right. In this case, the nearest complete sentence is this whole big sentence here. So the negation is the main connective. The wedge only applies to A and B. The negation applies to everything, including the wedge. And so the main connective is this one. And remember from class, that means you do it last. The higher up something is, the later you do it in the truth table. So that means we do this one first. Wedge. A, wedge B. Now go back to your rules for the wedge. Where they're both false, false, false on a wedge statement is false. False, true on a wedge is true. Basically, it's true anytime they're not both false. So every other case will be true. True, false is true, and true, true is true. That's the value for the wedge, but of course we're not done with this truth table for this premise yet, because we still have to figure out the negation. The negation applies to the wedge. So what does the negation do? It simply flips the value of whatever you already have. So 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0, 1 becomes 0, 1 becomes 0. Then we can kind of scratch through this if you want, just to make sure we don't pay much attention to it anymore. We've used it. This is the truth table for that sentence. All right. Again, I feel like I should ask any questions, but I can't, so we'll just move on. Second one, B, horseshoe, tilde A. All right, which is the main connective? Well, here, the tilde was the main connective here because it applied to the whole sentence. But here, pretty clearly, the tilde only applies to the A. So it's clearly a lower down connective than the horseshoe, which is indeed the main connective. That means we do the tilde first. And here I'm not going to fill in the values of B and A, just like I did here. I'm just going to write down the values under the connectives. So if you want to put in the values of B and A, you're certainly entitled to do that. So the tilde A, where A is false, false, true, true, tilde A becomes true, true, false, false. And then, so that's the value for tilde A by itself, but we need now the value for the whole horseshoe, that's our main connective. B, horseshoe, tilde A. Well, I'll put in the value of B just to make this easier. All right, that's the value from B over there. 0, 1 on a horseshoe is 1. In other words, false, true is true. True, true is true. False, false is also true. True, false, that's the only case when we have a 1 on the left and a 0 on the right. It's the only case where our horseshoe comes out false. So there's our value for the second premise. Now, finally, the conclusion. The conclusion also has two connectives, the tilde and the dot. Clearly, the tilde here just applies to the A, because that's the very next sentence after the tilde. Whereas the dot applies to everything, so that's the main connective. So again, we'll fill in the value for not A. We already did that once here, so let's do it again. 1, 1, 0, 0, just the opposite of what A is. And then again, I'll fill in the value of B, 0, 1, 0, 1, from over there. So this is tilde A, this is B, and we need, it's a conjunction, so we need to fill in the values for the dot. Go back to look up the truth table for the dot. You know that 1, 0 on a dot is 0. 1, 1 is 1. 0, 0 is 0. And 0, 1 is 0. In other words, it's only true when they're both true. Any case where one of them is false, the whole thing's false. There's our value there. We can scratch through this so we don't pay much attention to it. Now, remember, the truth table test says, check to see if there's a line where the premises are all true and the conclusion's false. Well, in this case, we don't have to look too far for that, so I'll write this up as a question. Is there a line with true premises and a false conclusion? And you don't have to look too far. Look at the first line. First premise comes out true. Second premise comes out true. Conclusion, false. In other words, it's possible to make this true and this true while still having this be false. That means the argument is invalid. It could have true premises and false conclusion, and we can prove that by looking at that first line there. Is there a line with true premises and false conclusion? Yes. So this argument is invalid. Okay, so those are a couple of examples of how to use the truth table test. You will have an assignment that's going to be posted on the course website when I put this video up. There'll be an assignment on there in which I'm going to give you a few of these, ask you to work through them, and come up with the conclusion. Is it valid or isn't it? I'll need to see both your work and your conclusion, so make sure you do both. And that's it. So read through section 6.6 of your book for more help. And if you have trouble with the truth tables more generally, read through the sections that come before that as well. Because the idea is that it sort of, section 6.6 builds on the previous sections. So make sure that you've read through all through chapter 6 through 6.6, then do the homework and watch this video. I guess you've already done that. And then do the homework and hand it in on Monday. I'm not sure if it's going to be submitted online or handed in paper, but either way, get it done by Monday and have a happy Thanksgiving.